start with this saying, how can TM be made affordable and offered to masses to improve their health and reduce social evil?
We are trying our best. Our teachers are really devoted. They also have to live, and we would be very happy to teach TM for free if the teachers are supported. So it's just a system that requires personal attention. We have created a new app now to help a little bit that you can learn in person because it requires a personal attention. And more and more, there is a possibility that insurance companies offer support and cover it so that the teachers can actually themselves continue to live and, and be able to teach. But there are many programs. We have veteran programs, and the Veteran Administration has been absolutely great with great supporters. We have programs for schools with the David Lynch Foundation. We have Maharishi International University that offers scholarships. And we are trying in every way to make it available to the maximum number of people.
Great. And one other question, somewhat provocative, but in the context of COVID, how can we explain that coronavirus is a manifestation of consciousness? Shouldn't consciousness be more benevolent?
It is, when you look at it very carefully and you see, you go through the logic, honestly, as again described in sequence in the book, you find that there is a freedom that is given to the individual. Otherwise, life as a manifest reality has no meaning. No meaning, even creation will have no meaning if there is no freedom, because what would it mean? It means nothing. Everything is robotic and it's like machines. And therefore, there is, in essence, there is freedom. Even when you look in physics terms and discovering the fine aspects of uncertainty and randomness that is available on the lower levels of existence, then you are actually faced with potentials of random things happening. And what is required is to have higher consciousness to prevent this from happening. So it's a much more complex thing than saying it is consciousness as if it is a God and the creation is maintained by that deity and controls every aspect of it, and therefore God creates the evil and creates the problems. And actually, it was one of my personal search and problem with things is that what is the origin of evil? And nobody could give me a full answer. And I feel that there is an answer, and I present it in this book. It's more complex than just saying this is what it is, but it's based on freedom as part of the most important aspect in the creation. And there is a purpose, in a sense, not a creationist purpose, which means something that is forced on the creation to follow a certain step, and then suddenly there is the deity interferes and creates a problem. It is not on that level. It's on the level of knowledge and experience and freedom. And if you have freedom, you can choose something. And if there is also randomness, there can be random things that can happen. And therefore, there is exposure to potential random issues that are a problem. How to deal with this, then why there is a meaning, how could it be? Well, again, if you have higher consciousness, you can prevent things from happening by being aware of some things to be done and some things not to be done. So there is true responsibility, even for our human species, if this brings us to this point. It is not that, okay, there is a God and everything is going to happen, and what can I do anyway? It's going to happen. It is true responsibility for our human species to come to a certain level of understanding, to raise our awareness and be able to overcome difficulties that might happen. And that's what life has shown, even in the evolution. So this is really what I can say if I have to be brief.
Right. There are quite a few people who asked similar questions. And to be more specific, how can we attain this higher version of consciousness to improve our lives? And what are some of the actionable steps that we can take to attain this? You may have addressed part of it in your talk.
Everything you expose yourself to makes a difference. This is really an important part of what I describe as a bit of consciousness. A bit of consciousness is a moment of awareness. Every moment of awareness changes something in you. It creates a new mode of functioning. So if you know, some things are very benign and not important and don't leave much of an impact, but they may leave something. You see a flower, after you see the flower, you're not the same person. I mean, you're 99.999, etc% the same person, but there is a little change in your psychology, in your feeling, in your awareness, because you were exposed to something. You go on a vacation, you do something that is positive, you see something good, beautiful music that uplifts you, it changes you a little bit, tiny bit. Whatever you expose yourself to makes a difference in who you are the next moment and the next moment. In order to reach higher consciousness, you have to expose yourself to things that create a pattern of awareness, a pattern of consciousness that is in the direction of acknowledging and recognizing your true self, which is pure consciousness, pure being. That is what is called in the ancient tradition, such as in India, moksha or liberation. You're liberated from the boundaries of experience because you know the self, you experience the self as being unbounded. And the fastest way that this can be done is by directly experience the self, and that is by transcending, which means going beyond the object of experience. And that is why transcendental meditation is not just a stress release, nice technique to feel better, which it is anyway, but its real origin, its real basis is go back to the self, go back to the self, nivartatvam, go back, go back. Go back to the self, experience the self. That is a rested, pure state of being. It purifies the body naturally and spontaneously. That's why the stresses are removed and you feel better. But ultimately what it does, it liberates you from the boundaries of the outer object of experience. So when you look at the flower, you don't become the flower. You look at the table, you don't become the table, and your awareness is taken by the table. You're always established in the self. That's what's called liberation. You are liberated from the boundaries of objects. And that is moksha, that is enlightenment. And there are higher states of enlightenment than just transcendental. That is what we call cosmic consciousness, God consciousness, unity consciousness, where you really see within and outside this one unbounded ocean of consciousness.
Wow. How does it differ from mindfulness?
Mindfulness is a guided way of directing the mind towards certain aspects of experience. The mind is being bombarded by all things. People are stressed, strained, they're worried about everything, and the mind is jumping all over the place. In mindfulness, you say, come, calm down, relax, take it easy. Now put your attention just on your breath, so that you are no more bombarded by these thoughts and shaken around. So you have your attention, you are mindful, your mind is full of how the breathing is going. And now you breathe this way, you breathe that way. Or you can be mindful of thoughts. You can feel like I'm mindful of the thoughts. If I feel my feelings are hurt or something, I should observe it and I should say that this is not me, it is just the thought. There are these different techniques where you guide the mind. It's called open monitoring also in a kind of a technical term, which means you monitor things in an open way, in a relaxed way, without judgment. This can help, of course, and it's nice, but it's not transcendence. Transcendence is going beyond this, and transcendence happens naturally, innocently, guided by the own nature of the mind, which is to search for more happiness. But instead of searching more happiness outside, in transcendental meditation, we direct the mind inward. And then, because inward is the true source of intelligence, source of creativity, then the mind wants to go there. And that's why it is a natural process, which is not contrived. Also, if you try to be mindful during activity and you remember to be mindful and like that, you might divide the mind a little bit. And we have seen that some people get anxiety in being in a contrived way in a mindful state. Now, mindfulness is great. I'm not saying it's not good. It's very good and it can help, but it's not transcending. And the best way to be mindful is to be established in the self and then perform action. Yogasta kuru karmani. That is the highest wisdom. Established in the self, in being, in the silent being. Now perform action where you can be mindful because you're not shaken around. You are strong and clear and you can focus, yet maintaining that serenity, that stability. And you are spontaneously, innocently mindful. So to be mindful is great. To be mindful spontaneously is supreme.
Well, I think, God, this could go on for a long time. This is wonderful, the interaction and the discussion that you're having. But in the context of COVID, do you have any thoughts on the impact of consciousness and even controlling COVID? You think about COVID ravaging India, which is where a lot of these Vedic thoughts and beliefs came from, in a country like that is facing a devastation now. Is there a role, in addition to science, to do anything?
Yeah, and it's good to say in addition to science, because we have to resort to what we have and what is available, and we don't just run away from it. But in this case, I'll take the example. To find a solution, you have to have the vision of possibilities that are around, which means to act from the field of consciousness. Because if you are in a dark room and the solution is there somewhere on a table and you are not seeing, so you start checking this, checking that, trying this, trying that, you can't find the solution. And the solution might be something on the surface, ultimately. That's what we say. It's not that we just meditate and forget it. You meditate and you act, and your action, you have to do something. You have to be the instrument of your action, but you want to act in light, not to act in darkness. So if the solution is there on the table, bring the light, you will see it, you will take it, you will use it. So there might be solutions on the surface, but in order to see those solutions and to act with them and to use them, you want to bring the light of knowledge, which is the light of consciousness. Consciousness is awareness, that's all. It's your awareness. What is life without consciousness? Nothing. There is no meaning to it. If you are on anesthesia or in coma, what's the meaning of being wealthy, being healthy, not being anything? You are in coma. It just doesn't mean anything for you. If it's when you are conscious that life gets a meaning. And the more you are aware individually and socially, the better you can find the solutions, which can be on the surface. So it's bringing the light, dispelling the darkness of that prevents us from seeing things, and then consciousness, it's awareness. We will be conscious of a broader perspective, broader possibilities, and find the solutions.
Great, thank you. I do have a final question for you. You know the kind of work that we're trying to do geared towards wellness and good health and so forth. What would be your message to us? What can we do here as part of the CWC to incorporate some of your teachings?
I think we should work hand in hand and teach transcendental meditation to all those who are part of your group. We can have a special program. We can see what the situation is. Maybe even if there is a need, find supporters or sponsors or something like that. And in true faith, in true belief, scientifically, evidence-based, research-based, this is the highest thing that we can do. And then we can just make this knowledge available to the whole world, as we are doing, and as you have been wanting to give wholeness and fullness and true health. It doesn't mean we don't do proper diet, we don't do Ayurveda, we don't do proper, everything has to be done that is on the surface level. But again, let's nourish the root to enjoy the fruit.
Well said. Thank you. And as you might know, there's an extension of the CWC now in India. So there is endless opportunity for this message to go out. Again, I want to thank you, Dr. Nader, for a wonderful, wonderful program.